Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this video. Just as the title says, we are talking about emotional mastery, what to do with anger and all negative emotions, how to manage that when we are going through a divorce, whether you're in the pre, the during, or the post phase. So my name is Kevin Cohn, and I have been a therapist for men for recovering from divorce for the last 5 years. And I decided to create a YouTube channel so I can spread a message that there are actually tools, there's actually strategies, there are ways that wherever you're at, even though you might not think that there's no light at the end of the tunnel or that all around you is darkness, that there are things that you can do now to strengthen yourself, to empower yourself, and to realize that there will be a time when you won't suffer anymore, you'll be filled with peace, and you will be able to rebuild a future. So in this series, we're going to go ahead and focus on certain tools that can help us manage these negative emotions that surface, that force us to be agitated, to be angry, to be frustrated, to be depressed, to be numb. And so all of that is basically what we call the emotional roller coaster. At the beginning of your, or wherever stage you are, especially the beginning, there's this shock, there's this numbness, there's this, moment of the D-Day. You hear the words, I want a divorce. Maybe you thought you would never ever hear them, like a lot of men that I've helped throughout these years. Comes out of nowhere, and so the body shuts down, and even though physically you haven't been hurt, emotionally you are. And when you damage the nervous system, which is connected to your emotions and your feelings, it takes a long time to heal. But you're in a place where there's like a storm and you don't know what to do. And in this emotional roller coaster, it's like, you see something simple or trivial and it sets you off. Maybe there's too many dishes in the sink, or you hear somebody shout in front of you, or like you hear a song. It could be anything, something very, very trivial, but it triggers you because it's connected somehow either to some past event or because you're just so overwhelmed that anything is magnified. Everything is magnified. So it's like this emotional roller coaster. So what do we do in this moment? Well, let me make my face big. So in this moment, first of all, we have to recognize, and we're focusing on anger, is that anger is a valid emotion. We have a range of emotions. You experience them. There is no such thing as an invalid emotion. Every emotion that you experience has validity. What we don't want to do is we don't want to repress it or minimalize it. So it's like, okay, I'm super angry. Either that anger goes inwards, so there's self-hate. It goes outwards, where you want to attack or you want to hurt somebody, not necessarily the person who has caused you the most pain. So the thing is, okay, so I'm feeling anger. So we have to recognize it. We have to recognize it as a signal. It's like I have this signal, all right? The political term, you don't kill the messenger. We have to focus on the message. And the message is you feel angry or you feel anger. And it's why, and using that analogy of the messenger, it's just like your body is telling you something. Your body's telling you, hey, you're feeling angry. So it's like, well, what do I do with that? So the first thing you do is you recognize it and you give it space. So I'm in a moment where everything's magnified. I'm in a place where I feel overwhelmed. I'm in this roller coaster. I'm going to pinpoint on anger. It's a valid emotion. I'm listening to it. My body's saying you're feeling angry. So the next phase is, okay, well, what shall we do with that? So coming across this message is feeling anger, it's okay. It's okay to feel this way. And like I said, is you are a human. You are a human having a human experience, and having emotions is being part of that experience. And you're going through an experience which is probably the most traumatic you've ever had in your life. I mean, there's a loss and there's a death, you know, the death of a dream, the death of a family, the death of a home that you created, the death of future plans, everything. And so your foundation is broken. So it's like, what do I do now? What do I do now? So in order to take those first steps, we have to figure out, how do I manage certain emotions? Because they kind of blind you, you know, they blind you in how you communicate and how you operate, even how you think. You know, you have this filter. So like I said before, you know, everything is magnified if you're angry. So it takes very little, right? And usually when we're feeling a lot of pain, you know, usually we vent that pain onto somebody who has nothing to do with our situation. And we want to avoid that. So now we're like, okay, I understand. I'm angry. It's okay to be angry. Now what? So here, what we want to do is we want to focus on how to regulate, you know, our emotions. And so what we're looking for is something that helps us stay grounded, something that helps us stabilize. And there's a lot of techniques. And what we want to do is we want to aim for things that are simple and repetitive, because these things become a routine, and routines ground us. They sink us back into the ground where we need to be, especially if a storm is happening. So what we want to do is, through certain techniques, we start steering the car. You know, we don't let the car get out of control, just like we don't want to let our emotions, you know, stir us away. We want to be in control, right? So, and how do we do that? So there's a lot of techniques. Ones that I love is anything that has to do with meditation or with breathing or with breath work, because it's simple, it's very profound, anybody could do it, and it's just wonderful. So there's different techniques. The one technique that has helped, I'll get myself big again. The one technique that I think functions very well is the 4-4-4. There's also the 5-5-7, but we'll focus on the 4-4-4. And basically, they're just a breathing exercise where you're in a place, you're sitting down, your feet are flat on the ground, you have no distractions, so there's no phones or anything, and you're breathing. And how do you breathe? Well, you breathe in through your nose, and you inhale, and then you exhale out of your mouth. So, but we also hold the breath. So we inhale, hold, and then we breathe out. And this type of breathing technique is, what it does is it helps us clear our mind, first of all. And what does that mean? That means we no longer think about the past. We don't think about what happened. And we don't think about what could have happened, or what if I did this, or about your situation right now that might be very, very difficult, or in the future where you're thinking, I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see a future. So what we want to do is try to stay in the present, and that is where we find our strength, and this is where we feel, or we find stability. So we do this, and we repeat it several times. Now, it's really simple. We'll do the first round together. So we just inhale for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. So. So if I do that, I'm already feeling, I don't want to say lightheaded, but I already feel so much better. And I'll just open up a small window. For those who do meditate, I would encourage you to do it more. And for those who haven't, I would encourage you to start. Even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, make it a daily routine in your life, and you'll see the huge difference of how much you'll be able to no longer be a slave to your emotions. You become a master because you become an observer. You feel these emotions that surface. You feel this anger, right? And so you don't let it, take over you. You're like, oh, I mean, I'm kind of minimalizing it, but it's just like you feel this anger come and you're like, oh, I feel angry. It sounds robotic, but you sense it. And so instead of just, reacting, you want to like hit a wall, or you want to hit something, or you want to somehow use your anger in a negative way. You're like, whoa, I feel angry. Okay. All right. What happened? What just triggered it? What am I going to do about it? Let me go take a walk. Let me go do this. So anyways, so you start breathing. And so doing this helps grounds you. Another thing I would recommend is these muscle strengthening techniques, and it's really, really simple. We can start from our toes, and then we go all the way up our legs, then our stomach, then our chest, our shoulders, to our arms. Okay, even if you want to in the facial area like neck or mouth, where you tense up the muscles. So I'll do something. So I'll use upper body right now. What does that mean? So let's say I'm squeezing right now. I'm squeezing. It could be 3 seconds, it could be 5 seconds, it could be 10 seconds. And then you let go. And then you do it again. Deep breaths. And then you let go. Now, if you start from your toes and move up, what happens is you're using tension, so you're using anger as a tool, or even at this moment where you're not feeling angry, and I hope you are not feeling angry right now, regardless, that you do this, right? So there's tension and then there's release. Tension and release. And what does that do? It helps your body ground itself. It takes you into the present. Because remember, the healing is in the present. Everything happens in the present. And so doing these two exercises help ground you. And that means it stabilizes you. That means it strengthens you as far as emotionally. And that's what we want. We need an anchor. Before we start doing anything else, we need that anchor. So if I move on to the next part of the video, here we have mindfulness and reframing. And this is very powerful. So I love mindfulness, and we'll connect this to reframing. Mindfulness is extremely powerful because it's basically what I told you before. It basically keeps you in the present. Right before my D-Day, right before my ex-wife asked for a divorce, I was studying to be a mindfulness practitioner or a instructor. And so I was like deep into mindfulness, and mindfulness had helped me. I didn't realize how much of a powerful tool it is when I was going through the most traumatic event in my life. And so what's so powerful, and again, it's so simple, is breathing. So going back to breathing, and I'm not talking about, a specific technique. It's you with yourself sitting down. Your back is somewhat stiff. You're not slouching, right? Because you don't want to sleep. You're still in a moment of focus. And you kind of unplug from the world. And in your breathing, as you're breathing in and out, thoughts come like clouds in the sky. Feelings come like clouds in the sky. And what mindfulness does is it doesn't throw judgment on this. It's not asking why. It's like, why am I feeling angry? Why do I feel this way? Or why do I have this emotion? It never does. There's no why. It is part of you. And what we're focusing on is to be in the present. So as you're breathing, you might have all these thoughts. And so you just, with compassion, say to yourself, I need to be in the present. And you let those thoughts go. Now it's difficult because, our mind is constantly thinking all the time. And so we're trying to hit pause. Because imagine your mind being a whiteboard and I've written all over it. And there's no space, right? Through mindfulness, I'm actually cleaning. I'm taking an eraser and I'm turning that into a blank canvas. So new thoughts, new perspectives, new ideas can emerge that actually might be beneficial for me. So any form of meditation, you're practicing mindfulness because our focus is not that our mind is full, is that we're living in the present. So I would encourage those, whether you feel more comfortable with just certain meditation or with certain techniques, that there's this intent, there's a focus, like 444. What we're doing is these are grounding techniques. They're sensory, okay? And through our senses, we're able to handle negative emotions better, right? So like, let's say I'm feeling angry, I could start like squeezing, okay? Or start squeezing my arms, my biceps, and then let it go, and then squeezing again, let it go. So this is a form that anger can leave us through physicality. Of course, the best thing would be to go and run. But again, the more tools that we have in our arsenal, the better we are to manage the situation that we find ourselves. Reframing is tough. Reframing is basically where, let me make my face big. Reframing is basically I'm thinking of an idea and I try and change it for a different perspective. Okay? And this, you can do it in an easy way where maybe you don't have any emotional investment. So maybe it's a colleague. Maybe a colleague at work said something to you that was very rude or very impatient. You can say, okay, that person's a jerk. Or reframing it, I wonder why they're acting like that. I wonder what made them say that to me. I wonder what happened to them. Because you're bringing curiosity, right? You're bringing curiosity. So reframing tries to give you a different perspective. It humanizes, and there's compassion in there. And something that is very, very difficult. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I wouldn't have been able to do this in the beginning of my divorce. But, thinking about the ex-wife, it's just like, well, she's this and this and this and this and this. And reframing it is possibly she's going through a bad time too. And that's how she's handling it. So reframing gives you a better perspective, right? So you kind of step away and you just show a little bit of light, of compassion and empathy. So reframing helps. Mindfulness helps. Different types of breathing techniques, or we're talking about the type of the muscle tension and relaxation techniques. All those work. So let's make me small again. So the next part is creating an anger management plan. So what does that mean? That means we're planning. Okay, sounds kind of weird, but you make plans for vacation, you make plans for work, or maybe objectives, whether they're personal or for the career. But here we are planning something. We're planning anger. So in a moment, when you can, you think, all right, now I say anger, but it could be another negative emotion. But again, our focus is anger. So if I feel anger again, What do I do? Now, you can write it, and I encouraged you to write. Write everything that you feel. Write everything you feel. Because everything you feel needs a voice. If you don't give it a voice, it becomes bigger. And not only that, if you don't give it a voice and then you repress it, then you're in a world of hurt. And it just makes things so much worse. So what do we want to do? Okay, we've learned a couple of tools. There's lots of them. There's lots of techniques. It's just like, okay, the next time I'm angry, I will do this. Now, it could be, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to call a friend. Opening up a little window there. There's some reason we figure that we have to suffer alone. And that somehow we have to solve the situation by ourselves. Don't do that, please. We are not made to be islands. We are made to help each other out. Please find support, find a community, find a sister, find a brother, find a friend. Because no matter who you are, you have somebody, and that somebody is willing to listen and cares about you. It's so painful and so hard to carry all the weight by yourself. Share it with somebody. Let somebody else help you with the load. And on top of that, you get a different perspective. Remember, we're talking about reframing. That's a different perspective because they're like, well, why don't you do A, B, and C? I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that, And you're not alone because there's somebody else on your team. There's somebody else thinking about you, somebody else who cares about you. So we want to pre-plan it. So for me, I love running and I love meditating. So for me, between the two, running, so physicality, exercise is the most, that I think, is the most powerful tool and the quickest tool to vent out, to let all negative emotion, especially anger, leave. It's gone. And plus, not only that, you're strengthening your body. It frees up your mind. You're talking about a mix of chemicals that are released in your body that you feel more at ease, more calm, happier. So anyways, think about something. If you need to, write it down. But have like a plan A, B, and C. Next time I'm angry, I'm going to do this. So it becomes automatic, right? And the more you do it, you'll realize that your episodes of anger during your divorce, it will get smaller. You'll still have the episodes, but the intensity lowers, right? So this is something that I would think about, write out, and tell yourself. It sounds silly, but like I said, we're all human, and you feeling anger is valid, man. It's valid. There's this cycle of trauma, and there's this famous psychologist, Kimberly Ross, in the 60s, who came up with this 5 stages of death. She used to interview and talk to elderly people dying, and there were all these stages. And then she realized, well, wait a minute, these stages are not just for somebody who's dying, but also somebody who's suffering an emotional death. So we'll say that in another video, but the first thing is numbness or shock. It's like, what? And then it's like denial. No, this hasn't happened to me. And then you get to the part where you're just like, okay, well, I'll do anything. I'll see what I can do, because you kind of accept it, but not in a positive way. It's a negative way. And then you get into depression. And then the last stage is acceptance. And getting to the last stage is very difficult. So think about your management plan and your toolkit. I don't think I did anything. Okay. The next and last part that we want to talk about is kind of like real examples and situations. So usually when you find yourself in moments where you have to co-parent, so this is specifically people who have been divorced with kids, and this is a different level, of pain. and confusion and trying to figure out how to move forward in a very healthy and positive way. But if you have to co-parent, you're going to find yourself in situations where you must talk to your ex, right? So, you know, you can throw a scene, you can insult her, you can go crazy, whatever. But those are moments where you can demonstrate, all right, how do I handle my anger? So try and think about the tools. So going back from the beginning, anger is an emotion. It's normal. It's valid. You've gone through probably the most traumatic event in your life. And so it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? And they're just like, okay, wait a minute. I'm supposed to accept anger. And then I have these tools I can try and use. And then imagine me being angry. And then what happens when I'm in that situation? It's just like, yes, that's what you got to do. Because you will be in situations where you will be angry, whether you're in front of a judge, whether the lawyers are trying to battle it out, whether you get a horrible text from your ex or your child says something that is untrue. There's so many things. There will be so many things that will just make you angry. So anyways, what is important is that we want you to manage your emotions and to manage this anger through simple techniques. I want to say thank you for watching this entirety of the video. And if you are somebody currently right now going through a divorce, I'm very sorry. My heart goes out to you. I know it's extremely painful. Your experience is unique. Remember this, your experience is unique, but your pain isn't. The pain that you feel is the pain that every man that goes through a divorce. And as you know, is that over 70% of the divorces are initiated by women, are initiated by the wives. And most of those are surprises, you know. I remember my day. I remember it like it was yesterday. I can tell you right now, you know, November 17, 2018. It was a Friday. I knew exactly where I was. I knew exactly what time it was because it was such a traumatic moment in my life. So there is healing. There is moving forward, but we're not robots. So there will be moments where you take a couple steps and then maybe a step back, a couple more steps and back. So I really hope that you find value in this video. Down below is a link to my 4-month healing recovery course for men who are going through a divorce. And basically, week by week, it gives you the direction of how to build a stronger you, how to heal, how to move on, how to find your identity again. Because as a father or as a husband, and that's taken away from you, there's so many things that, you know, we have to ground you. We have to talk about self-care. We have to talk about self-compassion. There's all these tools out there that can help you. And just know that when you're surrounded in a community of support, everything is exponential. Like you're healing and you're moving forward and you building a stronger version of yourself and having a life that you've always wanted, that just accelerates. Remember, you're not alone. That you can reach out at any time here at Men Rising Strong. We care about you. We want you to be stronger. We want you to heal. We want you to move forward. Thank you for watching this video. There are links below if you're looking for extra support and direction. Have a wonderful day.